Hey there, I don't know what's going on with my hair today. I've tried to do a million different things to make it look okay, and this is kind of what I stuck with. Recently, I went to a gala. It was a work event, and it was so much fun. I got to be there with a ton of amazing people, and it was just a great experience to go. And of course, it was a gala, so we were all fancy, and everyone was dressed to the nines, actually, to the tens. And I wanted to go all out. I was like, you know what? This is a gala. Only rich people get to do stuff like this, so why not? How many times am I gonna be invited to a gala in my lifetime? So I rented a dress from Rent the Runway, and it was beautiful. It was one-shouldered blue dress. I'll throw a picture in there so you can see. And it was just so amazing, so I felt like I had to really amp up my makeup more than what I usually do to match the dress. So I came up with this blue smoky eye to match the blue smoky dress. And I got so many compliments on my makeup from the pictures that I posted online and from people in person. I decided, why not just make a tutorial so everyone can have this makeup look? So if you are wanting to see how I achieved this nice formal gala makeup look, just keep watching. I'm starting my look with the Lorac Behind the Scenes Eye Primer. I'm using my ring finger to really tap that into my eyelid all the way up the brow bone and in the inner corner. And then I start with my makeup and use the Moodstruck Mineral Pigment in the color Irresistible. And you will see here that I am out of focus. I'm so sorry. I was trying some new things with my camera and there are a couple moments that are out of focus, so I apologize for that. I'm just using here the Sephora crease brush with that color and putting it in my crease, making sure to get the color up on my brow bone and a little bit on the lid because I'll be using some darker colors, so that will make it easier to blend those colors out. Oh look, I notice it's out of focus. And then I'm using the NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil 601 in the color Black Bean. And with this, I'm starting at the very bottom of my eyelid and working the color up gently. You want to be very careful with dark colors because you don't want to get it too far into the crease because that's where you start looking like a raccoon. It's a little jagged, which is okay because I'm taking this blender brush to blend out the edges so it's soft. I don't want this harsh line of, hey, here's my NYX color and then here's the rest of my eyeshadow. I will be going ahead and placing black eyeshadow on top of that, but I'm using the NYX as a base to make the color really intense. And then using this black from this Mary Kay compact I don't know the color, I've had the compact for so long, so the Mary Kay black, and using my Younique Deluxe brush, I'm going to start by setting that NYX. So I'm going to dab it on so the color stays a little better, and then to smooth it out, I will use small sweeping motions. Remember to keep that black low because we don't want raccoon eyes. And then I only take it about halfway on my eyelid. And then I switch to the Moodstruck Mineral Pigment in Awestruck. And I like to put it in a ramekin. It makes it just a little bit easier to work with because I'm using the Urban Decay flat brush from the original Naked palette along with the Eau Thermale water in a can, and I'm getting the brush wet with that canned water, and then I'm taking the Awestruck and patting it onto the inner corner of my eye. Patting it helps it stay on better, makes the color a little more intense. And then one thing I really like to do to intensify the color just a little bit more is after I have applied it wet, make sure my brush is dry and then apply some of the powder dry on top of it. I really feel like it helps give that color an extra little bit of pop. Now I'm going to go back with that crease brush and then take another blender brush and just blend, blend, blend. You really don't want a harsh line between the black and the brown, so you really have to take your time and blend it out. You can use sweeping motions, small circular motions, anything that gets it blended out so you don't have a harsh line. I'm also taking the smaller blender to bring some of the black into the inner corner to give some more definition to the eye. And then heads up, more out of focus. I'm using that beige color just to highlight right under my brow bone. And then I also do it on the inner corner of my eye. And next I'm taking this Ulta Glitter Top Coat. It is straight glitter, and the color, if there is a color, it's glitter, Marry Me. And I'm using a large flat brush and I swirl it in the glitter and then I will tap it on. You do not want to swipe the color on because then that's going to have a nice glitter concealer, which we don't want any of that glitter fall out, so tap it on. Time for the face! I'm using the Glorious Face and Eye Primer, and I'm just putting it everywhere, down onto my neck, and then patting it into the areas under my eyes to really fill in those fine lines. So for my foundation, I'm using the IT Cosmetics foundation brush, and I'm using the Mineral Touch Liquid Foundation from Younique in the color Velour. And how I usually apply this is I'll put 2 to 3 drops on the brush, dab some color all over my face, and then use swirling motions to administer the product all over so I have a nice, even coverage. And I will do this working in sections on the face. And as you notice, this color is a little dark for me, so I try to make sure to really blend it out on the neck. If you are using a foundation that's a little darker, you really do want to take it down on the neck and blend it out, because no one likes that, hey, here's my dark foundation, hey, here's my pale neck, different colors look. So really blend as much as you can if you're using a darker foundation. So for my contour, I'm going to be using this rounded Morphe contour brush along with the Smashbox contour stick. Typically it comes in a set of 3 with a highlighter, a bronzer, and a contour, and I'm only going to use the contour stick, not the highlighter or bronzer one. And I'm going to put those in the typical areas for contouring, the hollows of the cheeks, the nose, and the forehead, and then I'm just going to use that Morphe brush to blend it out. It'll look a little intense when you start blending, but the more you blend, the more it's going to look a little more natural and less harsh. And I'm just going to continue through and blend the rest of my face out. Next, I'm using the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer in the color 15 Fair, and I'm using this as a concealer and as my highlight, so I'm going to put it under my eyes and in all of the high points on the face. And then I'm going to take a pointed Morphe contour brush, which I got in a set with that rounded contour brush, and just blend everything out. When I get to under the eyes, I'm not going to fully blend with the brush. I'm just going to kind of spread the product out a little bit, and then I'm actually going to switch to using my ring fingers to blend it out fully. I like using my ring fingers because I feel like the warmness from my hands spreads the concealer out better, and it fills those fine lines and wrinkles I don't want people to see. And then I'm using the Fit Me powder in matte and poreless in the color 100 Translucent. I'm just taking a big fluffy powder brush and applying that on top of anywhere I used that Fit Me concealer. Next, from that same Morphe set, I'm going to be using this angled brush with the Younique Beachfront bronzer in the color Hermosa, and I'm using that brush just to apply the bronzer in all the bronzer areas on the cheeks, up on the forehead, and then down onto the jawline. I'm using this big fluffy fan brush to remove any of the excess powder left on my face, and I felt my bronzer needed to be blended out a little bit more, so I blended it out with that as well. And then I'm switching to blush. Somehow I killed my blush brush, but I put it back together and used the Younique Mineral blusher in the color Seductive, and I used the powder form, which it doesn't come in the powder form anymore, but you can still get it in a pressed blusher, and I just apply that like a normal blush. I know I said that I would never get into eyebrows because if I did, I would get super obsessed, and that happened. I got the Younique Moodstruck Precision eyeliner, it's not eyeliner, eyebrow pencil in light along with the eyebrow gel, and now I just never not do my eyebrows. I never knew how big of a difference it could make to fill in your eyebrows. I don't go super defined with my eyebrows. I still like them to look natural, so I don't fill them in crazy heavy, and my process is I'll take the spoolie end and brush through the hairs, and then I'll fill in the bottom line, the top line, and then fill in between, go back in with the spoolie end to blend everything out, and then switch to the other eye. And there it is, and I'm using the Younique Precision Brow Gel just to get everything locked into place and add a little bit of extra color. For my eyeliner, I'm using the NYX Liquid Liner in Black Sparkly. I'm not too sure of the color because the tube is completely wiped off, but I'm keeping the line very thin with a small tail because I want the focus to be on the color of the eyeshadow, not the liner. Now it's time to tightline and waterline, so skip ahead if you don't like seeing this. I'm using the Silkissime L'Oreal liner in the color Charcoal, and I'm just using that to go up onto my tightline, and it really helps to have a mirror in front of you. And then once I've done that on both eyes, I'm going to go down to my waterline and fill that in as well. Now I'm using the Younique crease brush to smoke out my lower lash line. This brush is perfect for that. I'm using Awestruck on the inner half and then switching to the Mary Kay Black on the outer half and using those small back and forth motions to really smoke it out to give that sexy smoky look that everyone tries to go for. And then on the day of event, I use these false lashes, but I am not applying them today, so instead I'm trading it out for my trusty Younique 3D Fiber Lash Mascara. And before I apply mascara, I always curl my lashes, and then I do apply the mascara off screen, and it's all done. And I made this face because I had such a frustrating time filming and just thought I'd leave it in there. And then I started on my lips. I used the Clinique lipstick in Beige Pop, and I applied it all over my lips and thought it was a little bit too light, so I decided to mix it with the Younique lipstick in the color Stuck Up. I applied Stuck Up just to the center on the upper and lower lip, and then smushed my lips together to blend it, and then also used my finger to mix it together. To finish off the look, I'm using the L'Oreal Infallible Setting Spray, and I probably sprayed myself about 8 times the day of event. And now we have the completed look. Let me know what you all think about this in the comments. I will have all of the products listed in the info box below, and I wanted to thank you all for taking the time and watching this video today. I will see you all later.